culture can only work, or only works to its truest extent is if what you are doing represents what you want the culture to look like. And
when your team is flying, make it about them. When the team is struggling, it's all about you.
Yeah.
In today's episode of Steering Success, we'll be talking to Trefor Murphy, the founder and CEO of Cooper Fitch, arguably the most reputable agency in the region right now. We'll be discussing the importance of identifying and retaining your talent, recruitment in Saudi, and the challenges that we face in a work-life balance in the workforce, including some me time, which is what I love. Our next guest on Steering Success is a very good friend of mine and someone who has got amazing insights into the recruitment world. Trefor Murphy from Cooper Fitch. Welcome.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. And great to be on the show. And worked in search for the last 20 years, worked for a big international firm and moved to the region in 2012.
People won't know, but probably 2 or 3 months into my time here in the region, you were one of the first people that I met. You were the first people that reminded me of what recruitment was like back home, the level of professionalism, the polish, and from a bit of a backtrack, my introduction to this region was quite daunting and it almost made me want to leave because the business that I relocated for was an absolute disaster. I remember those catch-ups in those cafes with you. They were huge in keeping me to stay, because it gave me hope that there were good business operators in our industry, in this region, in this country, that made me think that I could actually still forge a career forward for myself. I know that you were going through a transition at that time as well, but I think it was the time when you were breaking away from Morgan McKinley and then you were going to start up your own. I think I was privileged. I was one of the few people who actually knew that you were actually doing that at the time, right? Yeah. What was that like, that transition from being part of a global sort of business and then deciding, you know what, I'm going to make this my own?
Like a lot of very strong emotions, fear being a big one, and excitement probably being the other big one. I remember those chats, and I remember trying to get you to come and join that journey, but I didn't think we could agree on numbers. You were just too expensive for me as a lowly startup guy, but. It was look at, first of all, going from a big firm that had been here since 1997 and a big structure. But to echo your sentiment, even moving from that firm in Ireland or the UK to Dubai, it was hugely different in terms of the quality of people and the quality of services as a result of that. So then, wanting to do my own thing it wasn't a very clear decision for me. It was kind of but it was a do that or move back. And at that stage, I'd really settled into Dubai after a very uneasy first year or two. My first 6 months, I immensely disliked living in Dubai, but I warmed up to it. As most do, and it's been.
You're pretty warm now.
Yeah, it's pretty warm now. Feels like 48 today, apparently. Massively exciting journey. We bought out Morgan McKinley's business in the Middle East, North Africa, and we rebranded to Cooper Fitch in at the end of 2015. It became in effect in February 16. So. The night before my first day as Cooper Fitch, I jumped into bed at midnight after sealing a deal and spending nearly 16 hours finalizing the deal that day. And the next day it was going to be my business. I got into bed just after midnight. I fell straight asleep. I jumped up out of bed thinking it was the next day. I got into the shower. I got dressed for work. It was 20 minutes past midnight. I'd slept for 11 minutes. And showered and was out the door into the office. Crazy, like just the excitement of doing that
That's surreal.
Yeah, like a real, genuine moment. But just I mean, 7 years on, just a series of growth and development and structures. It's nice to think back on those times, but very exciting.
And you guys are huge right now. I mean, you guys are arguably the largest boutique in the region.
To say size isn't everything. So I mean, we've put ourselves in a pretty strong scaled up structure, from a recruitment point of view, and but it's it takes time. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of sticking to that plan, even when sometimes it doesn't make sense. Yeah. We've still, even internally today, we've got some parts of our business that we are in high development stage that maybe we don't make a huge amount of money on, but we're developing the ethos of building up proper market knowledge, proper expertise, proper experts that understand that market.
It's one thing that I've noticed being here, that the ability to find good or even great people to join your business is so much more difficult here than what it is from my experiences back home in Oz. Mm-hmm. Like I was lucky enough to scale businesses back home, and those people that I brought in, they were superstars, right? And in my 8 years here, I've really noticed it's a huge challenge to find really good recruiters who are on the ground, who are here for the right reasons, have the right motivations, and even understand the core basics and fundamentals of what it takes to be a successful talent partner / recruiter. Yeah. You've gone to a point where you've got 40 odd sort of people in your business, which I've gone up and down in my career. I can't even fathom what that would be like to actually get to a point where, I won't say you've mastered it, but you've definitely got huge success in the process in how you identify and attract the right recruiters and talent partners into your business. Yeah. Can you talk to me about part of it, which is the grad program that you've had since almost day dot, right? Yeah. Yeah. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I mean, we had a grad program in McKinley that we developed and localized for this market. It's very, I guess for me, it's a very particular market and a particular pool of people that you work with. Yep. We put them through 2 stages, 2 3-month programs. One is very much a office training, very much we had an online component to it and very much a classroom-based training. And
is that you doing the training?
So we ran all the training ourselves internally. Okay. So we break out each individual component of recruitment, everything to how you speak to someone, how you make eye contact, how you shake their hand, everything.
The whole body language, tone of voice, right?
Yeah, 100%. The skills that I think that were transitioned to me by my dad, but I'm not sure if there's a gap there at the moment, but certainly there's a whole new raft of basic skills that need to be taught. So we do that classroom-based training, and then we, after 3 months, if we feel comfortable with how to progress through that model, we put them into a more live situation where they're starting to talk to talent, starting to talk to people about to understand what it's like to understand their needs, and then over the next 3 months, we encourage them to understand how to qualify, understand question techniques, competency-based questions, and that kind of thing. So because ultimately, as we said just before we started, recruiters, we're judgy people. Our job is to understand not just someone's technical skill set and how that matches someone's requirements, but it's to really understand what their work behaviors look like and how that fits into the work behaviors of other organizations. So matching soft skills, looking at culture, how you manage and develop culture, and how you build talent density, as they like to say with our American friends. So it's very, so that's the kind of training program. Back to the talent on the ground. Here, I mean, we typically hire very few people from within market.
Yeah.
So we really like to take people that are either career changers or graduates and bring them through our own steps internally and teach them what we believe is the right way to do it. And
why is that?
Better chance of success.
Yeah.
Better chance that they're representing your brand properly.
Yeah.
Better chance that they're going to market with the right skill set.
Yeah.
Hoping that someone else has done your job for you and that they're ready to go and make some money.
We talk about it all the time. I'd rather have that blank canvas where you can teach them your way, your process, your methodology, as opposed to having someone coming in think he or she may know everything about recruitment. Yeah. The unwillingness to sort of learn more or to, develop further is quite common for those experienced sort of consultants coming who are actually on the ground as well. So someone who's just, blank and just teach me how I do this, whether they are through career change, whether they are grads. I mean, even back home in Oz, I think back to, showing my age now, but 15 years ago working at Hayes, and Hayes in Oz are an absolute powerhouse. And the CEO of Asia Pac was once a grad, and 22 years on became the CEO. And that whole story is how they would bring in grads every quarter, from 30 to 35 grads almost every 3 months. And they put them on a 9-month program where they weren't allowed to do anything outside of that program. And then there was literally a graduation where they would select the ones that hit the mark. They would have to present to the board. They would have to, do certain, hit certain milestones in those 9 months if they were to be brought on as a full-time employee. Almost every single director and above in that business was a grad. When I joined, I was one of the very, very few external senior directors who actually came into the business. And I was looked at like, you're a weirdo, you haven't come through with us with the ranks because that was their model. But their model made them number one in the country. And that model was, this is our way. This is what we know works. This is how we service our clients. This is how we look after our candidates. It's this way. This is our tone of voice. They actually did tone of voice training, on body language, all that sort of stuff. So think of it as a rookie coming in and think about my rookie days coming in. Yeah. I was given nothing.
But look at the fabric of culture that has been built there. So imagine you're a graduate and you're looking at which organization you join, and then you see Hayes and you see the senior leadership team who have all come through that program. Yeah. You're only joining one firm then. Yeah. You're not going to join someone else that doesn't have that reputation. The downside is the fresh thinking and the fresh blood, and you as an experienced person joining that environment, sometimes you just lose, you can lose having that fresh thought process being brought in. Yeah. And also you need to, other people that don't come from that kind of graduate program and that succession, you need to feel like you're part of that team as well. I mean, I struggled
with it.
Yeah, I bet.
Being like an external person coming in, because I know it's hard to believe because, I am who I am, but I was rough around the edges. I was not the finished article by any means. And going there was my mentor's decision to go there. He said, you need to go to a big business to polish you up. Yeah. You need to learn, go inside the belly of the beast and understand how these businesses work and so forth, because I was just so raw. Yeah. And then going in there, the amount of processes that were put in place for everything, and because they had a lot of payroll and they had a lot of contract work, which I didn't really know too much about. Yeah. Then you see that you open your mind to how recruitment can be done. So you take the grunt of the sort of street boutique sort of style of recruitment, which is very aggressive on the phone, very almost boiler room, Wolf of Wall Street type sort of thing. And then you go into a business like Hayes, and then you learn the corporate polish side in how you should conduct yourself, in how you should, sort of manage the process from end to end. And then you try and amalgamate them together into one complete process, which is have that structure, but have the aggression and the sense of urgency to be able to get the job done. I think that's a great combination. Yeah. And I think where people fall down is they come into a business and they learn one way and they think that's all they need to do. Yeah. And I think the consultants, from my opinion, is where I struggle when I meet with them now, and I meet with probably 3 or 4 a week, even when I'm not hiring, just to sort of see what's out there, and to just, keep them in my network that from when I am, right?
Yeah.
And I just see a lot of sort of, gaps in how they do things. There's a lack of sense of urgency in how they build their desks. And when I ask them, who are your clients, they're always house accounts. Like, are they doing anything outside of what's been spoon-fed to them by the business or by their CEO or by their leaders? Like, not many would be able to stand on their own 2 feet and say, I'm going to call these 10, 15 clients because I have those relationships that aren't spoon-fed to me. Do you see that or have you seen that in your career here in this region or throughout?
Yeah, I think so. I think that the shape of recruiters completely changed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I remember hearing stories of recruiters in London and in Sydney. Actually, I know a guy, but I keep his name out of the conversation for the moment. And he was in Sydney, and I think he worked for one of the big organizations, and his day one was, and this is probably 25 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago. And his day one in the office was, he's told that he was given a desk and a phone and a seat. He sat into his seat, and when he said, okay, you need to basically ring these clients and get a job on. And when he started to dial the numbers, he took the seat from under him and said, when you get your first job on, we'll give you your seat back. Yeah. So, so imagine that's the type of individual. So the successful people had to come through those kind of obstacles. Yeah. Now, imagine they're the people that are sourcing and defining the best talent for your organization based on that kind of skill set or that mindset or that entry level for success. So the shape of a recruiter now has completely changed for me. They're recruiters now that we're taking in are super smart, educated, but as long as they're smart, as long as they're really smart, they can pick up information, they can think on their feet, they can operate at a high level of ambiguity and then go through a stage of creating clarity as you go through a recruitment process. Yeah. To understand the job better, to understand the market better, feed that back to the client. Yeah. Understand the candidates, understand, feed that back to the client and get them the best candidates. Yeah. So they're smart. If I went into my guys and I told them that I was taking their seat away until they got their first job on, they would look at me like I was an alien and probably leave. It's just the shape is completely changed for the better, I think. For the most part, for the better.
So I was going to ask you, is it for the better? Because you gave me shivers because 2002 I started. Yeah. And 2002 I walked into an office, there were 16 guys, one female. Female was an ex-rehab worker where she worked in a rehab clinic in the UK. Yeah. So she was thick-skinned. So she could be surrounded by 16 blokes. Yeah. And we had to do calls from 10 to 12 and 2 to 4 standing up. Yeah. And the only way we could sit down is if we could pick up 2 jobs in that session. Yeah. And our GM would circle us like he's prey and just walk around while we were on the phone, just calling, just dial. We had dial times, on the top of our ceilings or anything on how long we're actually on the phone for. If you saw us silent for like 10, 15 seconds, you'd pick up our phone, dial the next number on our call sheet, and then call someone. And everyone would be in awe, like, hi, our GM is making this phone call, a cold call, looking to speak to the national sales manager. And I tell you what, we did it so often that 20 odd years later, I know that pitch still today, word for word. I could rally it off every single day without even missing one full stop in that pitch. And that pitch till this day would work more often than not. But I moved away from that business because things were lacking about the consultative side, the approach, the methodology, the servicing of the client, the care of the candidate's well-being and just where they end up, because it was very transactional. It was very short-sighted. Yeah. But the guys here don't have that
No.
That hunger.
The hunger, look at, agreed. And we're still a developing market. It's still quite transactional.
Yeah.
Like, yes, there are relationships. I've got good relationships. You've got good relationships, right? But for me, when I worked in the Irish recruitment market, I'd be the guy that if your son needed his first job, I could just ring around and get him a job.
Yeah.
Because I was trusted, I was an advisor, I knew what I was doing, and I was connected. A client would say to me, Trevor, one of your guys has sent me five candidates. I just need you to tell me which 2 candidates should I do an interview and hire someone from. I would interview those candidates and I'd tell him. And that's it. Like, it was literally as simple as that. Clients here, there's a level of maybe a level of distrust. Certainly a level of distrust in terms of what we're saying and why we're saying it and why it's positioned a certain way. We're kept at arm's length. We're not brought in close. When we ask about culture, sometimes they don't know how to explain the culture because they don't know what that looks like. And we all, like, the recruitment service needs to develop further, needs to get better, significantly better in some cases.
Why isn't it, though, with all the tools that we have at our disposal now? Why do you think we've almost become stagnant in how our service has actually been offered to our clients?
Because I think it needs to be. I think that, do you know that we were voted the most hated industry in Dubai?
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't be the case in a different market.
You see it on LinkedIn when a recruiter puts up a post about a complaint about a client or a candidate. I do it for a laugh. I look at the comments and everyone just says, you deserve this because the way that you treat people, the way that you do this, the way that you do this.
But understand what we're doing. And I know you know this, but we're reflecting the information that we are given from the person that's making the hire.
Yeah.
So why is it?
We know this.
Well, why is it taking 2 weeks or 6 weeks or 3 months to get feedback? Yeah. Why would we hold feedback back? Yeah. It's inefficient for us. We're just reflecting what's there. So we don't do that. But of course, we're seen as that point of contact. We're seen as the face, we are
the conduit between the client and the candidate, and
so for me,
responsible.
And so for me, it's the distance that we're kept from our clients. I think maybe it's just a lack of respect for what we do. Yeah, and some of that is driven by bad behaviors in recruiters, and some of it's driven by a lack of understanding from the clients. Yeah, and it's both. There's ownership on both sides.
I still scratch my head 20 odd years on and still don't understand how that is still so common, that lack of respect for what we do, the service that we provide. It's almost like there's a genuine reluctance to bring in the talent partner. Yeah. And it's just like, I have to, right? Yeah. And it's just like, I don't believe you can help me, right? And I say this a lot to almost anyone that I speak to in our industry. The biggest differentiator that I notice in this part of the world compared to back home, I spent a lot of my time back home trying to convince a client to use me instead of somebody else, right? I spent a lot of my time trying to convince a client to use anybody here, to even go into the process that you're going to pay a fee for a service that we're going to provide you amazing talent. Yeah. Whereas back home, it was like they were already convinced of that. Yeah. It was just who were they going to partner 100%. With to actually do it. 100%. Yeah. I mean, we're like 1 or 2 steps back here with that. And the clients that we typically talk to, and I'm going to say we have some really good clients who respect the process. And funny enough, those seem to work really well. The time to hire is super quick. The cost per hire for them as well is very beneficial for them and so forth, because they are part of the process. They want to work with us. They share feedback. One particular one yesterday that I'm working with, I gave them feedback about their process. They made all those changes within 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
Let's be honest, but that's less than 1% of the population of clients that we work with.
I was going to be generous and say 5, but we can go with 1.
It's a small. Look, I think. Look, I mean, I spend a lot of time, trying to show benefit and trying to show the net result of what good search looks like.
Yep.
So here's the thing, right? If you look at CEOs in the profile of a managing director or CEO in the Gulf, in the UAE, here versus any of the other Australia or Ireland where we both come from.
Yeah.
A CEO in Dubai will have 20, 40, 100,000 followers or connections. CEO in Ireland will have 10 connections or maybe 500 connections. He's connecting people, the people he wants to connect with. Reason why CEOs, for some random reason, are expected to hire themselves. So imagine that. The number one position, the guy that's running your business, multi-billion dollar business, is expected to make hires for his own organization. The CEO wouldn't
even go near it.
Wouldn't even log on to LinkedIn. And they're spending 3 hours a day or 4 hours a week or 1 hour a week searching for candidates on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So are their CFOs.
Yeah.
So are their heads of HR.
Why?
Talent, hiring the best talent costs money.
Yeah. And
the quickest way and the most efficient way of doing that is to do with a firm that you trust.
Yeah.
Haven't got there yet. Some have, most haven't. So if you're head of HR, imagine the CEO spending 4 hours a week on LinkedIn, searching for candidates. The head of HR is probably, in that example, is probably spending 20 to 30 hours a week searching for candidates. Yeah. What is happening with their people?
Their business.
The CEO for the business, the head of HR, the people, the culture, the structure, the well-being, the work from home, the balance, the work-life balance.
The mental health and everything else, the diversity and everything like this that everyone's talking about.
Yeah. They're spending, you and I have, have teams of people that can spend, we can use a piece of software that can look at LinkedIn and every other online tool, and we can long list in hours, which is taking someone that doesn't have a piece of software weeks or days to do absolutely. That. So we're efficient, we can get it done. Time to hire. Time to hire is probably about 28 days in Ireland. It's probably about 5 months here. Yeah. And it's probably longer outside of time to hire. From the time the direct goes out until time someone has their day one in the office. Yeah. So you get all these, and then when those HR people are doing all those great activities that they think are, saving them some money, which they are, onboarding processes here, terrible.
There's some good ones though.
Of course. There's some brilliant ones. There's some really best in class ones. Yeah. They are. But I'm just giving a market.
But in general, it is terrible, mind-boggling how bad they are.
So day one, no desk, no laptop, no phone, no contract,
no login to their emails,
no laptop to log on to an email.
Yeah.
So when they're all spending that, so they spent all that time to hire people, and then they're saying, but why aren't we retaining people? Why aren't people happy? Why aren't, let's run a survey on the 50 people we onboarded last week last month to see how they feel about working for this organization, of which they never get genuine feedback because, so then those starters in month 2 and 3 are already connecting with agencies to try and get a better experience.
They just don't put enough emphasis on the retention side. Yeah. And again, if I'm going to spend so much time, effort, money in identifying and attracting talent, why would I then neglect retaining them as part of my process ongoing?
Because someone somewhere is telling them you can't use recruitment firms, spend your time on what I would see as value added, which is not spending money, spend your time. And then the HR person has no balance. And then as a result of a no balanced HR person, you've got no balance underneath them. And then the organization is out of balance.
So what needs to change to sort of strengthen the client recruiter relationship? Because we've discussed that there are still the same sort of gaps that are 20 years on.
Yeah.
We should be seen as people who are providing a much better service.
Yeah.
May or may not be, depending on which firm you're actually talking to or which consultant you're actually talking to. But the overall gist of it is we have a lot more access to do our job quicker, better, faster, more efficiently.
Yeah.
Yet, every conversation, or the majority of the conversations we are having with clients, especially in the early stages, is either there's a reluctance because I want to do it myself, because that's the directive on top of the business. We built out our internal talent team. I'm going to say it. I've most likely failed agency recruiters who do go internal. That's what I've noticed.
I hope you're not watching this.
Because they probably don't survive the cutthroat nature of what it needs to.
I think we have to remove the cutthroat nature. I think that's part of the reshaping and the rebalancing of the kind of people that we have working for us.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So because if you have those cutthroat people, they're going to make cutthroat decisions.
Yeah.
So you need to be trusted. I need to trust you, and you need to trust me, and that only starts by being honest and demonstrating that throughout a long period of time. Right? You can't build trust overnight.
Yeah.
So, internal recruiter. I mean, I'd go back to the normalized market, a more normalized market, and we are still developing, but developing super quickly here as well. Right? So. Internal recruiters, where I'm from, facilitate good recruitment processes.
Yes.
And help with onboarding.
Yeah.
And that whole warm, fuzzy day one, what does that look like?
Yeah.
How are you feeling about our organization? Not spending 6 hours searching for the next victim. Like culture in, there was a debate on recently. And they were talking about culture versus cash.
I heard this.
And our old friend David McKinsey was
shout out David.
was on the show. And I mean, look, ultimately, when people when hiring the right people comes down to a number on a balance sheet, like that's a problem.
Yeah.
And when the organization's primary goal is to keep it on a P&L list. And then, so if that's how they're going to hire people, how are they going to treat people?
Yeah, of course.
How are they going to build some of those things that are hugely important, work-life balance, and how you get people through difficult times, mentally try and keep that balance there I think if when you've organizations and honestly, I know I've been pretty harsh on, some organizations, I would say most organizations, but there's some organizations here are world class in everything, and how they recruit, how they listen, how they seek feedback from the market through trusted partners, how they onboard, how they bring people in, how to develop people. There are firms here, like big international firms, that are doing a better job here than they do in their headquarters in New York or in Sydney or in Dublin or London, right? So they're just better because they're just listening and they're more successful here than anywhere else. I mean, what would be amazing is to do a study, and I've heard this for recruitment actually, there's some international recruitment firms here that are more successful here than anywhere else in the world. Yeah. Because they get it better, they do it a bit better, and they look after the people.
You mentioned work from home, flexible work, work-life balance.
Yeah.
The buzzwords that are always popping around, not only in our industry, but just in general.
Yeah.
From a recruitment sense, how do you manage that? How do you focus on that? How do you support your large team when it comes to that sort of work-life balance, their mental health, because it is so prominent right now in our lives. Yeah. It's not only business, it's our lives.
Yeah. So we give me time once a week, morning or an afternoon, get an extra gym session in. They can
love that.
Listen to a podcast, listen to this podcast.
It's the only podcast.
It's compulsory for everyone's me time next. We have a work from home policy, day a week, 2 days a week. We have a work from home. So if you want to go back to your home country for the summer, for a month, we just developed this now. We've now got 6 or 7 people who've worked with us in Dubai, who've now moved back home. Nice. So we're now permanently working from home as individual contributors and leaders in our business.
Wow.
So that's such a mind shift for me because I'm old school. I like to have people in front of me. I like to see them. I like to talk to them. I like them to talk to me.
Is it hard? Is it hard for you?
No, it is. It is. And it's not because I don't trust her to do the right thing, even though that's maybe a tiny little bit of it. Like Friends is on Netflix on our peak now. So I watch a couple of, will I do this bit of work or will I watch a bit of Friends? But that's only a tiny bit.
You're a Chandler Bing guy. I can see.
I used to be a Joey, but now I'm more of a Chandler Bing guy. Yeah. In the 90s, particularly a lot of the big US firms had this work from home policy. And for the most part, so we're different in Dubai, right? Because our office size dictates the number of visas, dictates the number of staff. Yeah. So if I hire you and you're at home or you're in Dublin or you're in Glasgow, I still have to pay for that plot of real estate, right? Whereas back in the 90s, a lot of the big US, particularly tech firms, but also just they had a big work from home policy.
Yep.
And it was interesting because I lived through the back half of that, or I remember at least the back half of the 90s from a work point of view. So they had a lot of their teams work remotely, sometimes 5 days a week. And what was driving a lot of that was the cost of office space in Silicon Valley and other industrial areas. And the study that was done by Harvard about 4 or 5 years into that progression to have a work from home policy was that rates of depression were so significantly up. So it started with just feeling disconnected.
Working from home, you say?
Working from home.
Yeah.
Massive levels of anxiety, of not being with people and then losing that connection and then not knowing, is there something being said that you're not part of because you're not there, leading to depression, leading to suicide. That's tough. So I'm a guy that likes to talk. I think you know me well enough.
We've always run out of time.
Yeah. We're running on topic 2. So on one hand, we talk about building culture, how do you build culture if no one works in the same space? I mean, I don't know if I told you, but I did a doctorate a couple of years ago, and my thesis was on culture and building corporate culture and culture intelligence and how you transition that and create a corporate work. If you and I are working in the same in this office and we create something between us, and then we add 2 more people to it, and we transition the good stuff, and we critique maybe and look at the stuff that's not good between us.
Yeah. And
we change that and change some behaviors as we had 2 people and 4 people, 8 and 10, 20, 100 people. How can you do that if you're dotting onto a video call once a week or once a day even? Because you're not sharing, you're transferring information from one person to another person, but you're not working together as such. You're not sharing the good stuff and the bad stuff that happens during your day.
There are businesses out there who have remote teams, in all parts of the world, and for multiple different reasons. Whether it's the cost, and we know how expensive it is to have to scale up here in UAE, right? So I myself, we have freelancers.
Yeah, of course.
We have people in our business that have been working with us for a while now. We have over a dozen who we plug into our projects when it comes to our recruitment projects that we win based on a needs basis.
Yeah.
They're not here.
Yeah.
There's no visas.
Yeah.
No medical insurance. Yeah. There's no running costs. There's no laptop costs, anything like that at all. Yeah. And they are super efficient. We probably don't have what you were talking about, which is that genuine sort of team ethos where everyone really understands the company values. Yeah. But for my business, that's what I need, right? But for the businesses that are here, where they're like yours and others that are bigger than yours and even in other industries, they a lot still struggle to have that culture or to get that culture piece right.
Yeah.
And you're a large boutique.
Yeah.
But it sounds like because of your knowledge on the culture piece, that are you quite involved in the day-to-day of actually building that culture and executing on that culture, or do you have other people around you in the business who are driving that with you?
I mean, I'd love to tell you we had the kind of P&L that would justify having one person doing culture. Look, I mean, simple things, things that I say to people when they start, and I try and demonstrate through my behaviors. So there's nothing that I would ask someone else to do that I don't do myself or haven't done regularly. Happy to demonstrate that and show them that.
So you're an open door leader?
So
door off the hinges.
So we've got
dramatic.
those Japanese sliding doors. So the door's never actually closed. It's always open. I mean, that's
if we sat with them and just say we got your sort of just random 6 people in your business, would they say you're very approachable as a leader?
But they'd also say that I expect a lot.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
High
expectations, high demands.
Look, I mean, quality only happens through hard work, and hard work isn't easy.
Yeah.
So yes, approachable. Like if there's difficult, I mean, sometimes it's like World Trade Center roundabout outside my office. Like there's just a kind of a constant spiral of people who are coming in to say, this is what's happened. What do you think? And we just break it down, and I kind of try and get them to think. I don't just go X, Y, and Z. I get them to think, because culture can only works to its truest extent is if what you are doing represents what you want the culture to look like. And then the people that work with you, as in my leadership team, reflect that completely. But they don't, because they're people and they've got their nuances in their book and their etc. So and so they reflect what they believe is the right way to do something. So as the organization gets bigger, the CEO is further removed from graduates coming in and etc. So but you have to leave as much of an impression and indentation into everyone to make sure that culture is throughout the organization.
Where does your leadership come from? Can you pinpoint certain individuals or certain moments in life where they were game changers for you?
Yeah, 100%. Very lucky that every job I've had good people around me. That's an amazing thing to be able to say.
Yeah.
And I think that the ones that have stuck with me are the ones that were most difficult to work with.
I was different.
Yeah?
Yeah. I had the ones that stuck with me were the ones that took me under their wing, because I was always the black sheep. Yeah. In that leadership team. Yeah. Because I was always overly outspoken. Yeah. Overly confident. Yeah. Okay. Borderline arrogant. And I'll admit it, especially when I was younger.
You're both Australian and Lebanese heritage.
Well, Albanian, Australian, quite sort of, thug life as a kid. So
it's survival of the fittest.
Yeah, it is, right? So but you take from leaders, and like you said, I was also blessed to have really good people leaders and business leaders that showed me a lot about, not only about what was right, but where I was lacking. So I invested a lot in, my development when it comes to empathy and emotional intelligence, where I really struggled in the early days. I mean, my first leadership role was my state manager was fired for gross misconduct, and I was the number 2 at the time, very young in my career, and they made me step into this sort of state management. So I ran a whole office 4 or 5 years into recruitment. It was an absolute disaster. Till this day, I still cringe at some of the decisions that I made in that office with those people, how I treated them, how I spoke to them. It was what I thought I saw in movies and on TV shows, and how I should berate and humiliate and just belittle staff. And then you get to work with leaders who humanize everything that you do. And you mentioned earlier about hires or staff are numbers, and their headcount comes at a cost.
Yeah.
And then you lose that human element to what business is.
Yeah.
And then you get to work with business leaders that they emphasize that human element. They focus on this individual has a life. Yeah. They have responsibilities. They're accountable to parents, to partners, to children, whatever it may be. Yeah. And they're going to have off days. They're going to have off weeks. And how are you going to manage that? And how are you going to be able to relate to them? And how are you going to be able to support them through whatever they're going through while still trying to motivate them to do their job and perform at the level that you're paying them to perform. Yeah. That was so just near impossible for me to understand in probably the first 5 years of leadership in recruitment, until you get exposed to a genuinely great leader. And one in particular comes to mind, her name was Deb. She was the Asia Pac CEO for Randstad. Yeah. She was just a weapon. Yeah. She was amazing in business and in people. And the transition from her was probably the reason why I left and came here. Yeah. When she left and they brought in someone else, the place just didn't feel the same. Yeah, of course, yeah. There was an emptiness in that business that I was just like, I'm not going to get that development anymore. Yeah. I mean, I had a corporate psychologist for 12 months working with me to develop. Yeah. Like, I was put on a training program. I became a accredited trainer in recruitment because of what they wanted me to become in the business. That was all her doing, no one else's. Yeah. Whereas Hayes, coming in as that external person, I was frustrated. Even though I had an amazing group director there who, to this day, we still chat, but like, I was just capped. I had a ceiling there because of their model of growing from within. So the people that had done the hard yards had to get first dibs on anything that was there as an opportunity to progress, rather than the guy who came in and sort of jumped the line and then trying to take it, right? So my development was stalled. So then my frustration stepped in as a leader in the business, where I'm not going to get any further, right? So like that leadership, almost guidance or mentorship, even though they're not your full-time mentor, that what you gain from really good leaders is priceless for me. Of course, because I still say the words that my previous leaders would say to me, to my team members. I still hear myself almost mimicking what they do in my own sort of style, because you learn from them, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, so mine was a bit different because I probably I came from a big family. My dad, you know, was a good, stern disciplinarian. And
I'm pretty sure all dads back then were all stern, right?
Yeah, stern. But he also had he had a good people side. He was, you know, so the bits that were missing for me were like attention to detail, you know, focusing on the detail, and then understanding the big picture and how you flip between the two. So we talked about the need to understand the human side of people and to understand that people are individuals and they've got their lives and their responsibilities. And you need to you, the individual, and you, the organization, need to blend together to match that. But then you also need to, so that's what you do every day. You put the person in front of the firm and you make sure that person's getting everything where at all possible. Yeah. But you have to look at numbers on a frequent basis, because if that give on both sides is not attributing to the business from a financial stability or growth point of view, well then, you know, that's an untenable situation as well. So it's about moving between the two as well.
Recruitment in Saudi. Can we touch on it? Because your business is quite heavily entrenched in that market, more than most. I've known since early days with you that you've gone there. Your team goes there frequently. You have, you know, some great relationships there, and so forth. What's your views? What's the appetite like for us being, when I say us, recruiters in general being in Saudi?
When I came to Dubai in 2012, I was told, stay away from Saudi Arabia. They don't pay their bills. it's a wide statement. It's a pretty big, broad brush to hit a market with 35 million people living in it, right? Like it's like saying London.
All of them. No one pays their bills.
Yeah, no one pays their bills. And not late, but just don't pay their bills. Absolutely not the case. We've never had a Saudi client, even at government level, that didn't pay their bills.
Yeah.
But so, as they say, as the old saying goes, when everyone is walking in the same direction, which is when everyone's looking at Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Qatar, and that's the markets everyone was going after, we just decided to stop for a second and look backwards. Everyone understands and knows what the mega and the giga projects are. But it's so much bigger than that. We started going to Saudi and we started visiting in 2015, I think, 14, maybe 14 was the first year I went to Saudi. We were engaged with Saudi before the launch of Vision 2030. So, and we were close with a lot of big initiatives up there, particularly the private sector, and then it transitioned a little bit to the public sector, then into the current quasi. Everything is kind of driven by Vision 2030. Everything is driven by either public investment fund or the Saudi Royal Courts or ministries of economy and planning or Ministry of Finance, which is a big driver and pull a lot of strings. So behind the scenes, it is a highly, highly complex market that requires a huge amount of attention and a huge amount of respect, but represents a significant opportunity.
It is
so much bigger. It's a tech hub. It's a logistics hub. Look at Riyadh Air. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
Look at Dubai. What Dubai's been able to achieve in 2 decades, maybe 3 decades. Astonishing. And every time I go to Riyadh, and I've been to Riyadh 100 times, every time I go to Riyadh, I get lost because it just changes so quickly. And Jeddah is very comforting because it doesn't change, and that's some of the beauty about Jeddah as a city as well. It's a much more civilized place, and I mean Riyadh is uncivilized because of the absolute the rapid disruption of that market, and that everything in that market is changing. And just because you knew someone, and you knew that this is how they operated before, and this was their scope, forget about it. You have to check in regularly to understand what that looks like. Yeah. It is the most exciting recruitment market in the world. Yeah. Riyadh. Yeah. And then you've got everything that Neom and Al Mala and Red Sea and Alula, beautiful. Yeah. And the more traditional cities that house Saudi Aramco, the biggest organization in the world with market capitalization. Yeah. And they've got SABIC, the 3rd or 4th largest chemical company in the world, all indigenous Saudi companies. It's a new projects thing. It's all those entities creating new organizations and new startup fabric. It's creating that tech hub. It's a tourism hub. It's a sporting hub.
It's a multiple hub.
It's a hub, and I mean, and I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant for Dubai. Yeah. I mean, I met a very interesting character recently. He's very high up in the Dubai government, and they love what's happening in Saudi. They love that they are going to have to compete with someone who's going to drive them on. Yeah. Obvious and sometimes not obvious and invisible competition between Riyadh and Dubai, or Riyadh, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Jeddah,
or Saudi UAE, or
Saudi UAE, or whatever it is. It's complex,
but it's great because it's the region. Like it just brings more eyes, more people, more conversation towards this region.
And look at Saudis are so proud, right? Riyadh, it's such a great place now, and the events that they run, the outdoor events, particularly in winter, Riyadh season. I mean, they're like creating cities for entertainment for 3 or 4 months of the year. And I think Riyadh season moves around. So it's Riyadh season, then Jeddah season, and then Alula season. Daman as well, I think, sort of move that product around, and it's beautiful. It's live music, it's entertainment, it's pop-up, it's great food, it's street food, it's, you know, the food in Saudi Arabia. It's incredible.
You couldn't say that 8 years ago.
I couldn't find a place to eat in Saudi 8 or 10 years ago.
I think my first trip there was 8 years ago, and I was like for work, and apart from a chicken shawarma, the only thing that I really trusted.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know?
There's this restaurant. This is her newest one. I think it's called Sahil's in Riyadh, and it does a fusion, modern Saudi, but a fusion of Saudi and European and South American food. I've had everything on their menu.
But you're a foodie. You like trying things.
I do. Look, my wife is Arab, so I know.
So she makes you try things.
I know, if I want to eat, I eat what's in front of me.
We're going to cut that out, because if my wife's here, she's going to like, see, other men do what they're told.
I was told this morning that she was making a corporate decision about something, and I won't tell you the debate that happened afterwards. But look at Saudi, the fabric, the quality of talent, and how it's improved, particularly with real engagement in female talent in Saudi Arabia. It's been a game changer for them. I mean, I'm so impressed. You know, and this kind of is a guy saying this. It seems, you know, I'm not sure what it sounds like, but the quality of female Saudi talent is incredible.
Yeah.
And they're showing the guys up.
That's probably the biggest change.
Yeah.
Forget about the aesthetics, the buildings, the infrastructure, everything that's being built. I think the biggest change is the level of female talent that's out for display in Saudi right now is absurd.
It's gonna create a future society in Saudi Arabia that's multiple times better. But the amount of people, I still speak to clients about, you know, so many clients are looking to move into the region now, really looking to move into Saudi, and like saying, so like if we wanted a female CEO, is that possible? Like females have worked in Saudi Arabia always. It's been a bit harder for them, but
are these the same guys that or people that would ask you if you're relocating them from abroad to the Dubai, am I able to hold my girlfriend's hand when I'm walking in the mall? Like that level of just, you know, it's just baffling.
But look, you'll get people that'll read the Sun tabloid newspaper and they think that's the reality. That's the reality. Yeah. And anyone that ever talked about, you know, either the Gulf or Saudi or Dubai, you know, there's one, you know, to say, I'd never lived there, you know, can I drive as a female in Dubai? Or, you know, there's one common denominator with every single person that has that kind of very clouded, super narrow-minded view of the region. They've never been here.
Yeah, they've
never been here. Like, so can I go to the beach, or can I hold my
partner's hand?
Yeah.
Which is like,
it's madness, right? But
because this place is amazing.
Yeah, it's you know, it's massively dynamic and changing, and I mean, it's like, you know, when someone, I remember when I came to Dubai first, there was these big signs, you know, no holding hands in the mall. I don't know if you remember that. Like they've been well taken down at this stage, but for me, it's like
even the dress code in the mall.
Yeah, of course. Nothing too revealing.
It's not the same now, though, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, it's like a fashion parade, and I mean, and that's for everyone. It's like it's like a walkway or a model, a catwalk. Sorry, a catwalk. We were talking about my previous modeling career here.
Well, you're definitely model material. You know, the all black outfit, very slimline, almost like Hugo Boss meets Givenchy or something, whatever it is.
Yeah, I got this in Zara last night, so it's only costing 50 dirhams on sale.
Oh, brilliant!
Look, I mean, it's great to see, and it's great for everyone. You know, but it's it's an ever-changing and a highly dynamic city and region, and Saudi will change X5, X6 times over the next decade.
You touched on leadership earlier. The leaders that you have in your business, because it's not just you, right? And it can't just be you. So how are they? And how much do you work with them on their leadership? So it frees you up to do whatever you need to do and obviously helps you drive the business forward. How important is it to have that next tier below you to be able to drive the business forward and to achieve what you want to achieve?
Critical.
Yeah.
Absolutely critical. It's like if I was to attribute, our relative success, it's down to having an engaged leadership team.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own style about it, and I even if I wanted, I can't change that. I feel that the ones that are closer to my personality, I end up spending a little bit more time with, but having leadership that allows me to spend 5 days in Saudi or to take a holiday and be able to switch off and recharge is critical.
Yeah. Leaders who are unable to let go and unable to empower others in their business. Was it tough for you in that early stage when you started bringing them through to say, okay, I need you to do this because for multiple reasons why, whether you don't have the time, whether you don't have just the capacity to be able to take on those responsibilities. How tough was it to sort of let go of parts of the business to be able to empower them to do what they need to do, what you're paying them to do?
Very difficult to let go. I was very fortunate that I was able to convince all of those, my current partner group, to join as consultants.
Yeah.
So I could see their working style.
Yeah.
And I could see how they could contribute to the organization.
And for their growth.
And to their growth.
Yeah.
Before I put them into leadership roles.
Yeah.
That was, so seeing how you are as an individual contributor and how you work with others is very important to understanding what your future leadership potential looks like.
It's the same model that we spoke about with Hayes, right? It's that grow from within. So again, it still works.
So this is not the CEO of Hayes as a big entity, but we've got guys that joined us as interns. One of them is now a managing partner 8 years later.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, it is about giving them enough responsibility, but keeping them accountable for that responsibility as well. But it is absolutely critical that you've got that leadership team, not just there with you, but that you can rely on them in the future. Right? Yeah. So we've got we've had to build in a shared equity model within the business. We have we've now got an LTS, so long-term, an LTIP or an LTS, long-term scheme to stay in the business.
Really?
Because that's critical for my mental health, knowing that we go through tough times, that it'll be with a shared group of people that I've now spent 10 years of my working life with in some cases. So, and look, we all make mistakes. We all overreact or underreact to a situation in front of us. It's never going to change. But it's just about being able to sit and have honest conversations with them in terms of how we can tweak that. And I still make big mistakes.
We all do.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes you undervalue, or you overvalue yourself. That's a big big thing for leaders that have had even any kind of level of success, that you think more of it's about you than the combination of everything. And nothing in our organization works unless all the pieces are moving together. So if I'm not on tune, or my leadership team aren't tune, or the consultants, or the delivery people, or my internal team, my head of HR, my head of procurement, if we're not all clicking together, it doesn't work.
One of my old, and he was a group director at the time, years ago, he said to me, when your team is flying, make it about them. When the team is struggling, it's all about you.
Yeah.
So just
100%.
Empower them, celebrate them.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do when things are going poorly, you don't want to throw them under the bus.
Yeah.
Your leadership will shine through when things are bad, and you're going to take the brunt of it because you need to get in front of everything. You need to wear those the bad of it, and then be able to then almost shield it and shelter them from that rubbish, so they can continue pushing forward and doing what they're doing. Yeah. That really was a huge turning point for me to actually hear that, because human nature is, distance yourself from that, right? Human nature is survival.
Yeah, of course.
So why am I throwing myself under the bus?
Yeah.
Why would I do this? And then you start reading, or you listen to podcasts, or you watch interviews with really good leaders, whether in business, whether in sport, right? Like, I'm a huge Liverpool fan, and Jurgen Klopp is someone that I really admire, even though I think he's fallen off a little bit over the last year or so. But the sense of empowerment that he gives to everybody else, and the celebration that is everybody else, before him. The fans started chanting a song for him. So they normally sing for the players, right? But the fans loved him that much, they made a song for him. He didn't like it. So it stopped after like 2 or 3 weeks. Because in one of his press conferences, he's like, I hear this. He's like, and I really don't want it. It makes me feel uncomfortable because it's not something that should happen for me as the manager, as the guy who runs this team.
Yeah.
Sing for the players, sing for these guys sort of thing, but just not for me. Again, that humility, where things are going good, give it to them. Yeah. And then as soon as someone comes up, he never throws them under the bus. He never says they're out of form. It's like, it's me. I have to tinker with this. I have to fix this. I have to do this. Yeah. That's like genuine leadership for me.
Yeah. Look, 100% agree. Like, people say to us, I think now and it's we refer to this as a good recruitment market. And people say, so why are we overachieving, or why are we successful? And I say, I don't know. I'm in the same way that when we are underachieving, I say, I really don't know either. So the bit that I try and tinker with is the bit in the middle, which is about our outputs, is about what we're doing in good and bad times to ensure that we continue that momentum of success.
Yeah.
And so I don't take credit for the up or the down. I think I'm like I don't know, maybe it's the gearbox, if that's a car analogy. So I just sit in the middle and try and think around, well, do we need to go a bit faster? Do we need to go a bit slower? Do we need to more this or more that? Maybe baking is a better example. I think, we're trying to put those ingredients together to make sure your cake is going to look and taste and, be nice when it comes out of the oven.
Yeah.
And fit for purpose and fit for market. So look, I mean, yes, success, but that's for me and for leaders. I mean, I don't, you can't blame an individual when something isn't going exactly.
Of course not.
Not to plan, but
you can hold them accountable.
You hold them accountable, and then you work together to change the plan.
Yeah. And
then you change the plan again if necessary. But look at there's no proven mathematical or engineering type equation for recruitment, right? It's a complex, small margin, small tweaks, small events that can be the difference between success and failure. And I always say that the most difficult person to hire for is to hire someone into your recruitment team. It's the most complex combination of traits that you need to have, because you would never ask someone from McKinsey to, sell McKinsey's brand to the market. And you would never even ask a Big Four but yet we're supposed to operate in a consulting in the consulting world to give good advice to our clients. Yeah. But yet we expect our people to sell those solutions to their clients. Yeah. And for me, I'd argue that, creating a strategy for an organization is a bit of a cut and paste, and so if you're an engineering company, you want to make better cars, or you want to move from a traditional engine to an electrical powered engine or an EVP, there are organizations or there are consulting firms that have consulted on that process for many, many years, right? And I would argue that getting the right people in your organization to fulfill that strategy or that strategic plan is much more important. Yeah. Much, much more important. Your Big Four guys that tell you how much money you've made at the end of the year, or to advise you on what tech you should be using. That's important, but it is not as important as hiring the right people. And yet then we talk about the CEO and the head of HR of those organizations who are spending their time to save some money, and yet they'll bring McKinsey in or they'll bring BCG in to tell them how to run the strategy. The strategy is useless unless you've got the right people to drive the organization forward and create the next version of itself and to create the right strategy. This needs a mindset shift.
So one final question. If you had a magic wand going into the recruitment industry 2024, 2025 and beyond, what is the one significant change that you'd like to see in relation to recruitment partners like ourselves and clients, companies here in the region? What would be the one shift, the one change that you think would not necessarily make our lives easier, but what would help the process become a lot more seamless and a lot more successful, and to really hit that optimum level of a recruitment methodology for both us and for them?
I mean, we kind of lots of kind of mantras and stuff that we try and do within the firm, within Cooper Fitch. And one of them from day one has been changing clients' expectation of what recruitment should look like. Yeah. I think we have a shorter version of that, but that's so we want to, we want to change what we do internally so we get better outputs so the client gets a better service. Yeah. So if I wanted to, wave the wand, I mean, the reality of a wand is I can't really change what clients, how they trust or respect us. But so I would say that, you and I and other business leaders in the recruitment world, the talent world, need to hire better people that deliver better service and change how the client sees us in the market. Because otherwise, you can't make someone fall in love with you. There's no fairy dust. So you have to put in those hard yards.
Looking like this, maybe.
So I think it's. I think that's the change. I mean, I don't know what you think, but for me, that's a change that we can live or work towards.
And you know what? It's so true, because it's true for us. We want and need better people to change the perception that you said is obviously the worst in this region. Okay. It's the same for our clients. Better people. I do a lot of work with startups, early stage startups. People are going to drive that business forward. Your idea, the concept, can be fantastic. If you don't get the right people in that business, no matter what your idea is, no matter what problem you're trying to solve, no matter what industry you're in, the people will make your business successful. So the magic wand would be value the process that comes in or comes behind that to be able to identify and attract the best people into your business, because it is so crucial to the success of your business. Whether you're an early stage startup, whether you're Coca-Cola or Nike, you still need the people to be able to. I mean, that movie that just got released, that Air with Matt Damon, right? And again, it's the people. It's the people that he was the individual that said, "Let's go after MJ." Not anyone, not 3 or 4 other ones that are just, okay, let's go after him. That's a human decision, not a business decision saying, but the business was going towards that direction. Human had an impact on that business.
100%. And we look at Phil Knight as one of the most, entrepreneurial, successful businessmen in the world. But, that was a turning point in Nike's business. Getting Michael Jordan in there was a massive turning point for them, and they were suffering and nearly at the brink of failure at that time. And I guess the book is still about Phil Knight, right? But he that guy in the movie, I can't remember his name.
Again, it's other people, right? It's other people in the business.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah,
like Steve Jobs, the guy that really got Apple to where they are. Maybe Bill Gates was the guy that got Microsoft to where they are, or maybe not either. I don't really know. But look, ultimately, it's the people underneath the person that's seen as the face, and it's the same for us, and maybe the same for you. It's if you can get really good people that are engaged and want to share success, and have got the energy and the enthusiasm and the capability to do it. That's where you will drive an organization.
Well, I'm going to say it's safe to say that Trefor Murphy is a huge part why Cooper Fitch are what they are. And to be honest, to finish this off, I mean, I came to this region with an expectation of one thing, and I was shocked by the lack of collaboration and rapport from different agencies in recruitment, that they were almost like, it was almost frowned upon to build relationships with competitors. And in the firms that I was in the early stages, we were genuine competitors because we worked along in the similar sort of markets. I can honestly say the relationship that we built over the 8 years, 7.5 years, is truly valuable to me personally as an individual, because it's breaking those barriers down, that we don't need to be enemies, because I mean, we actually should be, sort of collaborating. We should be understanding each other's pain points, in what we're doing and so forth. And we can only hope that this happen more often in the future, to actually have these sort of relationships with recruiter to recruiter, for business leader to business leader in the region.
Our clients have HR conferences. Where they meet and maybe to talk about me and you. Or maybe they've got better things to talk about.
We have recruitment awards that are just a laughing stock in our industry, right? So
embarrassing. Embarrassing. The day you see me at one of those award ceremonies is the next day I'm probably jumping on a flight never.
Well, I'm surprised you even found the time to come onto this podcast, because
of course,
CNN, Shark News, I mean, everywhere, right? Like Dubai Eye, even your team now, I'm noticing, are starting to get this sort of publicity,
of course,
feeding off the Trefor Murphy sort of campaign.
Now, of course, it's nice. I mean, you and I have, every time we meet, we have these type of discussions about life, about business, about recruitment, relationships, about being a father, what that means. I mean, it's you and I could spend an hour talking about any of those topics and have, I think, an engaging, intelligent conversation based on mutual respect. So, and it's been my pleasure.
Brilliant, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You can listen to this episode and every episode on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Google.